Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of New York Sports Rehab Quick Take. And we are here to quickly talk about the New York Jets' very disappointing loss to New England yesterday. Um, I thought this was the time we were going to break that streak. We'd lost 12 in a row. Watching the Patriots last week get destroyed by the Bears, thinking that we're a much better team than the Bears. We're playing at home. We're on a winning streak. To me, it was kind of like we're going to win. Just how much are we going to win by? Are we going to blow them out of the building and really get payback, or is it going to be a close game? And as it turned out, it was another loss and chalked that up number 13. And there's some things going forward that concern me even more so than just losing the game. Uh, from a standpoint of wins and losses, this game was there for us. We were one bad penalty away from being up 17-3, and I believe if that pick six had stood, that would have changed the whole complexion and momentum going forward. We would have gone in at halftime 17-3. I think being up 17-3 with the momentum still in your favor, even if New England had come out in the second half like they did and mounted a score and played better, I think we still would have had enough to win that game. I mean, if you look at how the points developed after that, that pick six alone might have been enough to carry us to victory. Yeah, it was clearly in today's standard, it was clearly a roughing the passer in today's standard. But when you look at other hits that weren't called, and then the refs giving the explanation that Mac Jones was hit too hard. I've never heard that one before. I have never heard that one. A roughing the passer call, that call right there is based on a late hit. Are you hitting the quarterback after he releases the ball? Yes, he did hit him after he released the ball, but you're telling us that if he had been hit not as hard, it wouldn't have been called. Are we going to start going that route now? Because if we're going to gauge how hard a quarterback is hit, it's going to be very subjective. So I was really upset in the manner, one, that they dropped the flag almost after we had scored the touchdown, and two, the excuse that they gave. There were a couple of other plays there that made you scratch your head as far as penalties. New England had another interception where the Patriot was clearly out of bounds. The announcers, the official up in the booth that analyzes the plays, agreed that that should not be an interception. And before the analyst got his last words out, they ruled on the field the interception would stand. And just a terrible call all around. There was the hit on Mac Jones where it was helmet to helmet. That's a tough one from a player standpoint to let up, especially when the quarterback is running hard, dropping his head. But what I want to know is if that's a penalty, helmet to helmet, hard hit, why was it Mac Jones put in concussion protocol? That would have kept him out, especially in today's standard, maybe the entire game, and it wasn't. So a lot of head scratching there as far as the officials go. It seemed like it was a typical Patriot Belichick officiated game. There's no other way to put it. I'm not blaming it all on the refs. I'm not going to say if it wasn't for the refs, we would have won the game. Possibly. There's a lot of factors there, but that certainly played a part in it. So the Jets lose. They move on. They're 5-3. I would have signed up for 5-3 before the season started. We're happy to be where we're at. We got Buffalo next week at home. That's going to be tough. How you can look at that game as a possible win right now, that's hard. But hey, you never know. It seems like sometimes the Jets play their best when they're underdogs. So even if they lose that game, they're 5-4 heading into the bye. I believe they got New England again after the bye week, and I feel like we can beat them in New England just as much as I feel like we should have beaten them at home. And there's a lot of winnable games on the schedule, so we're above 500 going into the break either way, and we're in the mix for a playoff spot, and that's really what our goal was to begin with. So, trying to keep a positive mind and looking at the big picture and realizing what this season's all about. But where I'm concerned, um, in particular, I think all Jet fans are, is the quarterback position. And I don't blame it all on Zach. I realize receivers have to be open. I realize offensive linemen need to block. I'm sure that's all part of the equation. But when you watch Zach Wilson play week after week, down after down, and every pass feels like a tooth extraction. There's running right, running left, running in a circle, evading here, averting there. And I realize, we've heard it a million times, Zach Wilson is great at evading pressure, but he's also not very good at throwing the ball under pressure. And sometimes when there is no pressure, and we continue to see, we're almost halfway through season 2, and Zach Wilson looks as bad as ever as far as his decision making, as far as his field vision goes, as far as his football intelligence goes, and at times just physically not looking good as a quarterback. How many throws yesterday did he bounce short passes to an open receiver? And he looks very, very raw. Mac Jones is not a very good quarterback. He made Mac Jones look pretty good yesterday. And how about the week before against Denver and their third string quarterback, Rippon? I was saying to myself throughout that game, you know what? Rippon looks like the first round draft pick, and Zach Wilson looks more like whatever, mid round, late round, undrafted free agent. And we're in year number 2, and we're just not seeing the progression and the improvement. And to be honest with you, at this stage of their careers, if I had to compare Zach Wilson to Mark Sanchez, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, I'd have to put Zach Wilson right there on the bottom. Darnold actually got worse later on. Sanchez was a good game manager, took us to 2 AFC championships. I shouldn't say took us. He managed the game and helped us get there without making too many mistakes. Geno, if you remember, he got off to a pretty good start when he came in and had to replace Sanchez after he got injured. So it's not to say that Zach can't still develop, but at this point in the career, I think it's safe to say he's not doing any better than our last 2 or 3 quarterbacks, and his concern going forward. And I don't know who wrote it yesterday, but it was a quote: the Jets are a very good team that need a quarterback. And that's what it's starting to feel like right now. And though the Jets have improved a lot and there's a lot of talent, there's not enough talent on this team to win games without Zach Wilson. So Zach Wilson's going to have to turn this thing around. And it doesn't mean he has to become a superstar. He was 4-0 coming into this game. Manage the game. Don't make mistakes. Don't throw any interceptions. If you don't throw any interceptions yesterday, or maybe just 1 or 2 less, there's a good chance we still might have won the game. I know we lost Breece Hall for the year, so that hurts the running game, but we got to run the ball more. And it seems like when we went down by whatever it was, 12 points, 14 points, then we decided to run the ball more. It just seems like there's so many possessions where we threw all 3 downs, or we ran on first down, we gained 4 yards, and we abandoned the run. And with Zach Wilson playing the way he is, and the Patriots have a good defense, and I'm sure they geared it to confuse Zach Wilson. I just don't understand why we abandoned the run so quickly, even though we lost Breece Hall. I have confidence in Michael Carter. I even think Ty Johnson's an okay back on a 2nd and 6. Why not hand him off the ball? If he gains 3 or 4 yards, we're in a great 3rd and 2 situation. We didn't see much of James Robinson yesterday. Hopefully we'll see more of that. But I think we continue to abandon the run too quickly. For a quarterback, we treat Zach Wilson and the play calling as if he's Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Pat Mahomes, and he's not. And possession after possession, he's running for his life, and he's all over the place. And every down, you're gasping and crying and screaming, and it's like it's just such a calamity. It reminds me of Christmas time at my in-laws' house, celebrating. It's just tumult and chaos and yelling and screaming and this and that. It's not that it's a bad thing, but that's how each and every Zach Wilson's throws are. It's just an ordeal. It's just amazing when you watch other quarterbacks how smooth and effortless and efficient and everything. This thing seems to move. Even looking at our opponents the same way, but with us, it's just like a tooth extraction on every pass, even when they're good. So it's a loss. We're 5-3. My concerns are the quarterback. I'm still concerned about our coaching staff. To say, well, they were outcoached yesterday would be an understatement, but a lot of teams have been outcoached by Bill Belichick as well. The defense overall played really well. You can't blame the defense. I still wish there was a little less rotation of in particular, our interior linemen, and that Quinn Williams was on the field a little bit more. But otherwise, the defense played well enough to win. A lot of points they gave up yesterday were off of turnovers, were off of a tremendous starting field position for the Patriots. And they held the Patriots many times to field goals, to long field goals. How good is Nick Folk? How nice would it be to have him back on the team? Not that we've had a bad kicking situation this year, but Greg the Leg did miss a 45-yarder yesterday. You couple that with a few other things here and there, and maybe we could have won the game. But so I still have questions about the coaching staff, in particular on offense. LaFleur, every now and then he gives you the sense that, okay, we're starting to turn the corner with him, and then we just go right back into that same rut. You question, in particular, why we abandon the running game so quickly, and why is Zach Wilson throwing so much? But I have concerns with the quarterback situation, because if he's not it sets us way back, not just for this year, but the next couple of years. Are we going to actually be looking for a quarterback in the draft again? Except this year, we'll probably be picking in the mid to late teens at best, maybe even into the 20s. I don't know. So and maybe that'll be better. Maybe that's where we'll find a quarterback, but I can't believe that we might be looking for a quarterback again. So Zach's got to turn it around, or it not only sets back the team this season, but in years to come. Last thing I'll talk about is Elijah Moore. I think he was on the field for 10 snaps yesterday. He was targeted once. I guess it was on a deflected pass. And I just got questions here. I mean, where do we go with this guy? I thought everybody kind of kissed and made up, and I really thought that he was going to have a big game yesterday, or at least be a big part of the game plan. Given the fact that Corey Davis is out, given the fact that Breece Hall is out, I would have thought we would have needed all our weapons yesterday. I don't approve of the way Elijah Moore has been acting, and if this is continuing, I'm all for possibly trading the guy if you can get equal value. But he's a talented player, and when you're down 2 or 3 top guys and your quarterback is struggling, all hands on deck. I just couldn't understand why he wasn't in the passing game. Is he that poor at route running? Is he that poor at creating separation and not being open? I don't know. I'd have to watch the films. I'd have to be a coach there and then really break it down. I can't believe that a guy with that kind of talent and speed is never open. But so that's a question going forward. Why was Elijah Moore even active yesterday if you weren't even going to put him on the field? And you got Jeff Smith out there and Mims, who actually had a decent game yesterday. It's funny how Mims was in the doghouse for a year, and it took someone else going in the doghouse to get him out of the doghouse. But so it'll be interesting to see, as today is the trade deadline, if anything is done with Elijah Moore. And again, it goes back to the coaching. Why isn't he utilized more, especially when we're down, several key components on offense? So tough loss, disappointing loss. I really thought yesterday would be the day that we got payback on the Patriots. I didn't think it'd be a blowout, but I thought we could beat them, solid. And we were on the way. It would have been 17-3. And who knows if that penalty's not called on John Franklin Myers. And, John Franklin Myers is starting to really piss me off. This guy was given a large contract. He had played great. He came out of nowhere. He was a great story, a great waiver wire or cut pickup by the Jets. And he really played well. And it's not that he doesn't play bad, but he has had several killer of those unsportsmanlike penalties, ticky-tack or not. He's a veteran on this team, and he's killing us, and he killed us yesterday. You expect that maybe from a rookie, a young player, but we're getting killed by our veterans, and in particular, JFM has done that a few times, and man, I mean, at what point does it come to an end? He's got to lead by example, and he's not. So that was a killer. So this is the toughest loss of the year so far. Losing again to the Patriots. I felt like if we can't beat them now, then when can we beat them? They're on a downslide. They look terrible against the Bears. They look like a team ready to disintegrate. They got a quarterback controversy. I think they still they don't know who their quarterback's going to be, because Mac Jones didn't do a whole lot yesterday to instill confidence. And I just thought they were primed for the taking yesterday, and us coming off several wins in a row. It just seemed like the stars all aligned, and yesterday was the day that we exercised those demons. wins and put that losing streak to rest, and it didn't happen. So we'll get one more shot of them in New England, and I feel like we can beat them in New England as well. The Bears did. But we're going to have to get better play from the quarterback position. And if Zach Wilson doesn't improve in the next few weeks and we're still hovering around 500, you got to seriously think about playing Mike White. Number one, he's a restricted or unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. So we have to find out what we got, even if it's just from a backup position. But let's say we fall to 5-5, 5-6, and Zach Wilson is the cause of most of this. We got to make a quarterback change, see if maybe he's the guy, and try to salvage this season. Because this loss, even though there were penalties and we were outcoached, overall has to fall squarely on the quarterback. So we'll see what happens in the weeks to come. If you'll notice that Mike White was named the number 2 quarterback for the rest of the year. So that's not getting a lot of attention right now, but it's something to look for in the weeks to come. It could be setting things up if Zach doesn't play well in the next week and maybe a week after the bye as well against the New England Patriots a second time. Maybe it's time to get a look at Mike White and see, hey, do we have something with this guy here before we go and start drafting and looking for another quarterback again? So don't be surprised if 2 or 3 more performances like we saw from Zach Wilson yesterday lead to Mike White starting down the road while we can still salvage this season and still be around 500. So disappointing loss, make that 13 in a row to New England. One of these days it has to come to an end. It can still end this year. Let's hope we can beat them in New England. There's still a lot to be positive about. Disappointing today, but looking at the big picture, we're still 5-3, and we're right in the thick of things right now in a very mediocre NFL, and in particular in the AFC. So let's stay positive. Let's see. Let's try to play a good, solid game against Buffalo, even if we don't win the game. Let's just be competitive and go into the bye week feeling good about ourselves, giving Buffalo all they can handle next week at home again at MetLife Stadium. And hopefully the Jets can keep the crowd into the game, the entire game. If you're going to come out and you're going to talk about fans getting to the stadium early and being loud, you got to come out there and give a better performance than you did yesterday. But I know Jet fans, they'll be out there. They're going to forget about this one, and they're going to come out with the same mindset as far as fans go next week against Buffalo. It will be up to the Jets, though, to keep the fan base in the game. Play well, play hard. Don't make stupid mistakes. Keep it a close game all the way through, and your fans will be there for you. So disappointing loss. We go forward. We still have a good chance to make the playoffs. We play 500 against a mediocre schedule, and we could be there. So I'm Mike. Disappointing loss, but staying positive for the remainder of the season. Let's see improvement. Let's see progression from Zach Wilson, and let's keep our eye on the prize, which was all along to be competitive, playing for a playoff spot in December, and hope we can more or less maintain that course as we go forward. So New York Sports Rehab, short take, disappointed New York Jet fan, but hopeful New York Jet fan for the future. I'm Mike. We're out.